What's next doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by chance. What's next happens when experience meets expertise, when data meets dollars, and when steel meets earth. What's next happens when the promising work of Pioneer state-of-the-art research centers meets the unsparing challenges of more than 17,000 on-farm trials. Our ultimate goal is to bring the next seed breakthrough to your fields, because Pioneer isn't just our name, it's our mission. Pioneer, what's next happens here.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio.
Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio Channel 147. I am your host, Lindsay Smith. It is Thursday, November 16th, and that means it is time for the Farmer Rapid Fire. This is, of course, for many of you, your favorite show of the week, and I will tell you as host, I'm right up there with you. So always a great time to hear from farmers across Canada. And what's really cool for me as the host and as someone, who for some of the people we get to interview are friends of mine in real life, but they're also people I don't get to see very often because this is a gigantic country and I don't travel nearly as much as I used to. So it is always fun when I get to touch base with some old friends as well. For this week's show, of course, we're going to be in Germany as well, but not just in Germany to talk about Agritechnica. Oh no, we've actually got a farmer from Quebec on for our Agritechnica piece today. So that's Nick Dubuc. He's going to be on in our third segment today, bringing us, so Sean Haney will bring us a really cool interview with Nick. They're going to talk about all the cool things that they saw. And so that's neat. Nick, of course, is a farmer. He's also an ag engineer. And so he's got some great insight to share with us today. Okay, we're going to stop in Ontario with Mike Groot. We're going to head to Manitoba with Randy Court. And we're going to head to Alberta to talk to Chris Allum. So super excited. Thank you, of course, to Pioneer Seeds Canada for bringing you the Farmer Rapid Fire. We really do appreciate it. Now, unlike some of the shows this week, if you noticed, I'm trying really hard. You guys, hosting a radio show is pretty tough. You've got all these timelines and you're watching the clock and you're trying to find segments that fit. So this week I've done my best, but I got to tell you, I feel like I failed you a little bit. We've had some very short ones, some very long ones. I'm trying to keep things, relatively even. So today, I think, fingers crossed, I finally got it figured out. And I'm hoping to have a really nice cadence through today's show. It's always the goal. But I did want to cover, before we head into the Farmer Rapid Fire, there's a couple cool things that are happening that I thought I would bring up just to keep on the radar, and some newsy pieces. And of course, we'll be talking about these tomorrow on the issues panel. So if you are on X and or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, I'm still going to call it Twitter. Sorry, Elon. We had a discussion about, so on Tuesday, we talked about the $9 million for the Canola Council of Canada coming through the Sustainable Canadian Agriculture Partnership, SCAP. They want us to call it Sustainable CAP. I still call it SCAP or SCAP. Anyway, $9 million. It's a lot of money. Don't get us wrong. But that number definitely for Calvin Hepner, I don't know if it kept him up at night or what, but he immediately hit on, Lindsay, I think we were at the announcement in, 2013 or something like that, where it was Jerry Ritz announcing funding. And then in 2018, it was Lawrence McCauley, again, announcing funding for the Canola Council. But here's what the numbers did. They went from 15 million, dropped to 12 million, and now 9 million. And you're saying, okay, $3 million drop between every 5 years. That's significant enough. But Francois Tardif, here out of Ontario with the University of Guelph, did just a phenomenal job with a graph that actually plots not just the decrease in the funding, but he actually adjusts it for inflation and then for the time value of money. So he actually adjusts it back to what, in today's dollars, or in 2013 dollars, what that actually means. And that $9 million for the Canola Council, this is of course going to be matched by provincial organizations. It's going to be leveraged and made into $17 million for 5 years of projects. So not not insignificant. I'm not saying that. However, realistically, to stay in line with the 2013 number, the announcement on Tuesday should have been closer to north of 19 million. Just let that sink in. So it begs the question, and this is something that we have been talking about quite a bit on the issues panel for the last few weeks. Many of us in the agriculture industry are standing up and saying, hey, this is an industry with so much potential, and it is an industry that feels like our government is somewhat either ignoring or at least not giving it the respect it deserves. And so exhibit, I don't know, D, C, F, I don't know which one it is, but earlier this week we talked to Bill Gruhl. He's got, with Protein Industries Canada, he's got this phenomenal opportunity in the plant protein, the plant ingredient sector. They have laid out a roadmap to $25 billion in revenue. So this is, taking a raw commodity. It's a sustainably grown crop, if those are the words that are going to resonate with a government. There is opportunity to add value, to create jobs, to make economy here in Canada that is useful for the world, that, brings in jobs and income and taxes and all those sorts of fun things. And yet sort of feels like it falls on deaf ears. Now, I'm not part of Protein Industries Canada. I'm not part, obviously, of the plant protein sector, go meat. But when we look at how agriculture is treated in this country, it just feels like between the rules and regulations that come out, the stalling of Bill C-234 in the Senate, the appointment of a second-time ag minister who, frankly, hasn't been really front and center on any of these issues. I mean, we are glad and thankful that he offered some time to do an interview, but on many of these issues, he's been silent and or he is towing the party line on a lot of this. We've got significant opportunity in this industry, and it just feels like in the sense of where we need support, and I'm not a huge fan of government involvement, don't get me wrong, but there is a role for government in supporting big picture things that move industries forward. And frankly, government makes decisions on things like infrastructure and rules and regulations and red tape. That's where government really needs to pave the way for what we need out of this industry, because there is just so much potential. And if we can also share what the potential looks like and attract really talented and wonderful people, imagine what we can do. And so anyway, as Garrett Harriman will say, I am on my soapbox, and that's what he tunes in for, everybody. He tunes in for Lindsay being on her soapbox. So where am I going with all this? I did want to mention, actually, to put it in perspective with the canola dollars. So first of all, the canola dollars definitely have dropped off, okay? But we also saw in this same week $12 million, so more money, earmarked for a challenge, an agricultural methane reduction challenge. So this is up to $12 million going to be awarded for finding solutions to dairy and beef cow to methane production in agriculture. Is that a bad thing? No, I think it's great. That's a great place to put money, but it's more money than the Canola Council is getting. And in the same week, we also saw the Living Lab initiative in Manitoba get just north of $9 million as well. So on the whole, yeah, a lot of money rolled out. But when you look at perhaps in the grand scheme of things of where the money has been or where the money could go, it definitely feels like certain things have sort of dropped off. So we'll see where it goes. I know, again, I don't speak for the canola industry, and I know they're going to do amazing things with that $17 million with the provincial organization. So we've got Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario chipping in. That's going to leverage that $9 million into 17. And this is something that, hats off to the producer groups. They do so well. They really will match funds and get things done, and I'm excited to see what happens out of it. But I will say, as someone who wants to see incredible growth for some of our industries, or frankly all of our industries, but I just feel like this is it really, I think, feels like an indication of where this government sort of values things. So there you have it. That's my soapbox. All right. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. If you've got feedback on today's show, 1-855-776-6147. That is our feedback line. You can drop us a line, drop us a message. You can contact me directly, lsmith@realagriculture.com. You can zip me an email. I have appreciated all your emails this week. I really do. I read them all. I don't always answer all of them, but I do read them all. So thank you. And if you want to follow up with me, please do. And for those of you on social media, I am at Real Loud Lindsay, and that's LYNDSEY, because my mother couldn't spell. Okay, it is the Farmer Rapid Fire. I will get off my soapbox and hand over the floor, of course, to our wonderful farmers from across Canada, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Mike Groot out of Crediton, Ontario. And yes, we're going to find out where Crediton is, because I don't know. Alrighty, we'll be back with more right after this.
Give your soybeans an obvious advantage with Lalfix Pro Yield Liquid Soybean from Lalwin Plant Care. Its exclusive formulation amplifies nitrogen fixation. That means a greener, higher-yielding soybean crop and enhanced ROI. The single bladder means there's no mixing, and the available collapsible cube simplifies shipping. It's the inoculant with a difference you can see. Contact your Lalman sales representative today.
Peter Johnson at WheatPete, RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing the Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word, absolutely the best part of my day.
There's power, and then there's superpower. Advancing the unstoppable superpower of pre-seed from New Farm. Take control. Eliminate weed competition and start clean in spring. Manage weeds early in canola, cereals, and pulses. Conquer, Goldwing, Thunderhawk, and Blackhawk EVO. Convenient formulations and multiple modes of action. Add more power to glyphosate, more benefits to your burn down. Go to newfarm.ca/burndown.
Welcome to Real Ag Radio here on this Thursday, November 16th. I am your host, Lindsay Smith, and it is time for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. Yes, every Thursday on the show, we travel across Canada, checking in with farmers, seeing what they're up to, what's keeping them busy, maybe what's keeping them up at night, or what they're looking forward to. You never know what questions we're going to ask. So this week, we start here in Ontario. We've got Mike Groot. He's going to tell us what's happening on the farm this week. All right, joining us now from Crediton, Ontario. Don't know where that is, Mike. It's Mike Groot. How are you, Mike?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Lindsay?
I'm doing all right. Where is Crediton, Ontario?
So it's about 30 minutes north of London.
Oh, okay.
Ontario. So
Then
it's not too far.
No, it's not,
I haven't made the trip up your way in quite a while, but I did pick up a ram in Kingston last year. I might go back up there yet.
That was close to me. Next time you'll have to come all the way up and come visit.
Come up for a little visit, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I did catch you cleaning out a grain bin. So I'm guessing that means harvest isn't done. So where are you at with harvest?
Well, we're starting corn today. We're a little behind everybody else in the area. I've been watching combines just go up and down the field with the buggy, just constantly rolling, and I still had some beans to finish off, and I contemplated switching over to beans, but they're all IPs. I know they can clean them out, but I just didn't want to go back and forth on it. And with all that rain we got too, it was maybe a better choice to not switch over to corn, because man, it got wet in the field. It's still wet right now. I can't believe that. It's not drying up with all this. Even these sunny days, it's just not drying up very quickly.
Yeah, it makes it's not exactly been a smooth harvest season for soybeans and corn.
No,
not at all.
No, that's right. No.
Yeah, we need some very dry, very nice weather. All right, so you're gonna get into corn, which is good, but I'll tell you, I know that you might feel jealous, but I think there's a lot of people in the same boat that have almost none done. How's it looking, though, as far as the corn goes? Were you worried about, or are you worried about Dawn?
So even that last time, there was a bunch of DOM issues or VOM issues. I never actually had an issue. We're all no-till. I don't know. There's probably no science backing anything I'm going to say. But it just seemed like, I don't know if that helped. Maybe less foliage. I don't know. It's just my no-till corn, my VOM issue. I didn't even have VOM issues the last time is what I'm just trying to say. So I'm not too concerned about it right now. But yeah, we haven't dipped into it yet. and I've changed varieties a bunch since then. I haven't really been focusing on managing varieties based on VOM because I wasn't sure if it was going to be an issue again, but obviously Mother Nature always likes to throw different things at us, so I should have been more prepared, but we'll see. We'll find out in another couple of days for sure.
Yeah, well, it does seem that there are some people that, yes, are being pretty hard hit, but others that aren't. So we'll go with your very scientific no-till versus till. Just 'cause we'll have, you know what? We'll call somebody and ask them if there's a difference. I'm gonna guess it's more your variety choice and the weather, frankly.
Yeah.
And not much you can do about the weather. Right. Okay. You did mention the sheep, which I'm so pleased that I can actually even talk about sheep on the show. Usually I can't, but if somebody else brings it up, then I can. So what else keeps you busy on the farm, sheep related?
Oh, lots of stuff. We've got a group of sheep that we're rotating around a pasture still right now. Cattle still rotating around a pasture. Getting pretty wet for that. The cows do a lot more damage than the sheep do at this time of the year, especially in mud season. But that's another problem we're working on right now is, because it's been raining for a month straight almost, my cover crop after wheat is still laying in the field, and I went to try to bale that today. But like I said before, the ground is just not drying, and it's pretty wet too. So I was going to try to tackle that yet today, or hopefully we get a couple of days yet. But it looks like Friday we're going to be in for some rain. I don't know if they've changed it, but it looked like it was almost a sure thing. So. Just always awesome being under the gun constantly, but lots going on.
It's either laugh or cry. Again. Okay, question. So let's back up. So you cut your cover crop? You're going to bale it or make haylage, or what was the original plan?
So for the last 8 or 9 years or so, my main feed source has been cover crops after wheat for my cattle. Sheep mainly stick to the hay, but my cattle and the finishing cattle that we sell through our Wholesome Pastures brand are usually just finished on cover crop or second and third cut hay as well. So the majority of our feed has come from these cover crops, and usually it's okay, but these years that it ends up with a fall like this, it gets pretty tough. Usually I can get it done by the end of September, mid-October. But, we're looking at now mid-November, and we're still laying, so it hasn't been ideal. Because, it's a large chunk of feed and a lot of value out in the field just laying there still. And to replace that by buying in a bunch of hay is going to be a bit of a nightmare, but it's always a risk we take feeding this way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's...
But we do have some capabilities of moving the cattle to the field. I would just have to throw up some fence throughout the winter if we don't have a rough, really bad winter, right? We can go out there and they can harvest it themselves, which is fine too, but it's nice to have it up in the yard too if we can manage that.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, it is an option. However, swath grazing can definitely, if you've got ice, doesn't work so well. Or super heavy wet snow that freezes down, that's difficult. And I mean, we can't entirely get away from stored feed. You got to have some. So that is, but at least I'll give that to you though. There are some people who would look at that and be like, what are we going to do? And you at least know that you can move the cattle to it. It's just not ideal. So.
Not ideal, it can be done.
Yeah, exactly. Adapt, innovate, overcome. That's what we're going to do. All right. So now you did mention you got the IP beans out as well. Did you get some of those off? And this is just the last of them that you had to worry about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I finished them actually yesterday. So we're good to go. So now we're going full tilt corn from here on out. So
nice.
Whenever I get this bin empty, we're going to be hammering on the corn here for the next,
until it's done.
At the long range weather, and it looks like winter might be here almost in 2 weeks, so we'll see what happens. But usually it takes me about a month to do my corn because of my little dryer. I've got a little dryer on farm here, and usually takes about a month to grind through all the corn we have. But we'll see how it goes. We might get a couple windows yet to be.
Yeah.
Sorry?
How long have you had the dryer?
20 or so years it's been on this farm. I would say that little dryer has been. Every year it just chugs through the crop. And yeah, it's on natural. We got lucky enough to have natural gas on this road here, so it's a pretty cost-effective way to do it, especially with these higher moisture again this year. So yeah, we just slow her down and then we just pump her right through there, and it goes well.
You're very lucky to have natural gas, Mike. You're very lucky.
It's very lucky. Yes.
I wish. Yeah, I wish we did. It's definitely, it's one of those things maybe people out in Western Canada don't realize, is that natural gas is not nearly so common here in Ontario. So, that definitely makes the economics on a grain dryer a lot different. That's for sure. Yeah, all right, Mike, I'll leave you to it. Thanks for hopping out of the bin to chat with us here on the Farmer Rapid Fire.
No problem. It was a pleasure being here again. Thank you, Lindsay.
All right, take care. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and as we've been doing all week, we are going to zip to Germany and get a report from Agritechnica. So we're going to have a quick break, and Sean Haney will be back with Nick DeBuc right after this, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
What were the issues in your fields this year? Did you do a soil sample? What is your soil sample telling you about some of the nutrient issues that you might be having going into next year? What herbicides did you use? What residues you might be concerned about? What weed issues did you have? What crop residues did you have? How well do you know your fields?
Get the answers to all the questions you have about your pulse crop at the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com.
Proven Seed is at home in your soil. With the widest seed portfolio in Western Canada, our seed is developed and tested on and for your local acres. Our hybrids and varieties are tested by hundreds of growers, so we know how our seed will perform in your local conditions. Better returns start with seed that belongs where it's planted, and this seed belongs here. Secure your seed today at your local Nutrien Ag Solutions or visit provenseed.ca to learn more.
Have you heard of Vantage Ag? They're a manufacturer and distributor of liquid fertilizers, and they want to work with you. They want to learn more about you and your goals and build a relationship centered around high-value products and a customized approach. For more information on Vantage Ag, call Paul Sinkovich at 778-919-3370 or visit vantage.ag to get started today.
Sean Haney here with Real Agriculture. We're at Agritechnica 2023, brought to you by Optimum Gly, a new canola trait technology from Corteva Agriscience. We're out on the trade show floor here. I believe we're in Hall 8, and right now we're joined by Nick DeBuc, who is a farmer from Montreal. Nick, how's it going?
Very good. A little bit tired from all the walking, but it's worth it.
If you're looking for about 10 to 15,000 steps a day, this is the place for you, indeed. Nick, I highly respect your coverage and your tweets that you've been providing about Agritechnica. You are somebody that's very in tune with what's happening in the machinery market. What's kind of your impressions this year of 2023 Agritechnica?
So I think there's like two trends that are really sticking out to me right now. There's really the new energy stuff where you see all manufacturers, they're trying to come out with electric tractors, methane, compressed natural gas, all sorts of ideas. HVO is another one that Fent's showing right now. So I think there's really like that sustainable fuel discussion right now that's happening. So they're showing concepts. Whether or not they're going to make it to market, that's a different thing. But that's a big trend where everybody's showing something. The other one is we're seeing a lot of autonomy, and not just. I mean, there's robots everywhere. Everybody has their idea, Lemkin, Krone, AgX Seed, so on and so forth, Kuhn. But there's also the majors that are trying to stay in that position with, retrofit where you can have a standard tractor being autonomous. So, Class being probably the latest one we're seeing. So it's really, those are really the two things I'm seeing a lot. I'd say there are two main trends. And then there's one weird one that really stuck out to me, which is mechanical weeding for row crops. We're back in the 80s. We're back to, row crop cultivators, and making sure you're not going to rip off 10 feet of corn when you turn around, that type of stuff. So more higher tech stuff. But there's really that, I think it's based on that reducing pesticide use by 50% by 2030. Yeah. It's really showing this year. They're trying to find all sorts of solutions for weed control other than pesticides.
And one thing that I noticed in the autonomy is, one, we're doing it faster. Right. So the sensors have the computing speed is picked up from 4 years ago. And the other thing I would say too is talking about autonomy, not just from the power unit of the tractor, but also, the smart implement, if we want to say that, the tractor and the implement working. There's some collaboration, Amazon and Kloss and it being one of the examples, but it seems to be a lot of that as well.
Yeah, I'd say, to a certain extent, it makes sense that your implement controls your tractor. So I think that tractor implement automation we've been seeing for probably 4 or 5 years on balers. There's all sorts of opportunities everywhere else, based on, planting speed based on ground conditions, for example. So I think integration with implements will be important because your tractor alone could be autonomous, but if you don't adjust to what's happening at the back, whether you're raking or planting or spreading, then that really doesn't have as much value. Yeah. So
the product that definitely got the most attention probably this week would definitely be the CR11, the New Holland Combine. Yeah. If you thought that combines were going to get smaller, sorry, they are getting larger.
Well, the one interesting thing I'd say is they're probably staying the same size, but doing more within the same envelope. It's maybe a little bigger. It's probably longer, definitely not wider because of roads here. It's probably definitely a lot heavier. Michelin developed those tires specifically for that combine. That says a lot about, what needs to happen in terms of compaction. But yeah, there's still a race to bigger and bigger, and I think that's going to keep going for a while. But they're getting limited in the space they can use. You can't get any wider. You can't really get any higher. So you can make it a bit longer, but we're going to hit that wall where I would think it's not possible to make bigger. So maybe it's going to be time to make it smarter.
The other thing that I noticed, and I wrote about this in a column, and I saw a tweet that you had put out that was, I think, fairly similar, is sort of an admission here that full electrification is not as close as maybe there was the intent, say, 4 years ago in 2019 at the last exhibition. We have, even in some of the autonomous robots, diesel powered, but there's electric to the drives, but diesel is powering these units.
Yeah, I'd say 2019, everybody was showing robots that were basically empty shells. Oh yeah, it's going to be electric. We have no idea how we're going to do it, but it's going to be electric. Whereas now they're telling you, well, it's got a diesel engine. Maybe it's diesel over electric, but still, you're going to have a diesel engine, because I think people are realizing, especially with higher horsepower applications, you do need to have, a good power source that's going to be reliable. 2-3 hours of battery autonomy is not going to cut it for anything we do on a farm except filling a TMR or light duty application in the barn. So I think the industry is coming to that conclusion, and I'd say manufacturers are not necessarily afraid this year to show that it might be a multi-solution approach. They'll have electric for the compact tractors, light duty implements, but they may need to go to HBO or something else for the bigger machines. So at least the way they're showing equipment, I think, says there's going to be that multi-pronged approach.
The last thing I would say too is a continuation of, here's our software ecosystem. Yeah. That everyone's trying to build a little bit of a better software mousetrap. Being connected is, everybody has something connected this year. We're all connected very much. Yeah. And everyone's using the same word. It's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. It's class connected, or it's something else connected. So everybody's kind of going down the same themes. But yeah, I think the one thing that really struck me this year is there is not a whole lot of new equipment that's really groundbreaking. That combine's big and it's different, but I don't know if I would call it groundbreaking, but it's mostly technology, integrating that technology between tractors and equipment. But I think we went, or at least I'd say that on the Deere side from what I've seen, they went with that big display of technology 4 years ago to we're showing what we want to do to now we're working on it. So we don't really have anything concrete to show you. But next one might be where it happens.
Yeah, it maybe tells us where we are in the cycle too, right? Where we're like, hey, we're less dreaming and more reality.
Yeah, and they might have realized that they showed a few bad ideas in the end. But yeah, I think they're working. They're definitely working for the future, but the path is probably clearer for them. I'm not sure it is for me when it comes to autonomy or autonomous vehicles, but they probably know a little better where they want to go. Where the industry as a whole is going is a completely different discussion, though.
Well, Nick, thanks a lot for joining us. Really appreciate it. And keep up the great work covering what's happening in the machinery world. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was great to see you here.
All right, thanks so much to Sean Haney and Nick DeBook for joining us here on the show all the way from Germany at Agritechnica. And if Nick's name sounds familiar, not just here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, but also perhaps you caught him on The Agronomist just a couple weeks ago talking about the difference between tires and tracks and their impact on compaction. If you head on over to realagriculture.com/agronomists, you can find that episode and give it a watch. It's a really good one. And thanks to Nick for that. It's time to take a quick break. We're going to hop on over to Manitoba. After this, we're going to talk to Randy Court here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
CDC Endure is a new oat line from Alliance Seed. High yielding with excellent disease resistance and the quality end users ask for, all in one great oat variety. CDC Endure provides the high beta-glucan levels to make heart-healthy products like breakfast cereals. For more information on CDC Endure oats, as well as any other products from Alliance Seed, check out allianceseed.com or visit any Alliance Seed authorized retailers.
You know, there's a reason we call it the Corn School. Videos on everything from planter setup, weed control, field trial results, yield strategies, and so much more. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF, Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from RealAgriculture.com, or as a podcast from your favorite streaming service. Download the latest podcast today.
Welcome back here to Real Ag Radio. I am your host, Lindsay Smith, and it is Thursday. It is time for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. And we head now to my home province of Manitoba. And it's Randy Court on the line of Court Seeds. Randy, how are you?
Oh, very good. Thank you.
What is keeping you busy this week?
Well, we're kind of in the transition between winter and our fall activities. The shop is very busy. We currently have all our combines in the shop, and we're going through them totally, getting them all ready for next year before they get put in storage. We are doing some hauling of grain out to elevators and crushers. We are in the process of cleaning seed. We have currently finished all the pulses and soybeans, and we are currently moving on to cereals as of today. It's also meeting season. There's lots of meetings going on and lots of travel involved for meetings. So we're all spread. It's one of our busiest times right now.
Is that wild? You always think like, next week it'll slow down. Next season it'll slow down. And then just every season has its own busy.
Yes. Yeah. And then, and on top of that, because we are a retailer, we're busy talking to customers and their crop plans, and we do a little bit of agronomy work for them, so there's always that to follow up on. So, yes, everybody is employed fully here for the next little while anyway. So.
Yeah, for sure. Now, so, of course, the combine's getting put away, moving on to cleaning cereals. So how many different crops would you clean in a season?
Between varieties and crop types, we're probably around 20.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Yes. Yeah, and it's a lot of
it's a lot of cleaning.
The thing is, what most people don't realize is the amount of work it takes to keep things identity preserved.
Yeah.
Everything from paperwork, documentation, grading samples, germination tests. and the physical separation of products,
Yes.
keeping everything clean, augers, trucks, etc. So.
Yeah, I just imagine a lot of compressed air happening. A lot of spraying.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of it.
There's a series of shop vacs along the wall, and there's lots of air hose outlets. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's all I envision. Now, you did mention meeting season. I'm glad that you did. It is as we gear up for producer meetings and all sorts of different things. So which one are you maybe looking forward to most?
Oh, definitely Manitoba Ag Days is our big one. That's, it's the chance. It's a show that brings out a lot of different farmers and different areas of agriculture. And I can simply walk up and down those aisles and meet people and customers I haven't seen for a while or have seen recently, and we can talk about any topic there is. It's all there. So it's definitely something that I look forward to. I wouldn't want to miss a single day of that show, but just because of the interactions and people and ideas that float around there.
Mm-hmm. It is a good one. And I think I finally have the layout memorized, so they probably can change it. Because I think I finally, it is like, there's so many buildings attached to buildings and there's shortcuts and all sorts. It's like a little maze that you have to figure out how to get through.
So it probably takes you close to 5 years to make sure you've seen the whole show.
Yes.
Because there's all of a sudden you're heading out the door and suddenly, well, where'd that building come from?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Yeah. But it is a good one. I have very fond memories of each time I've been, and all the memories of course, at the end of the day, hoping that your car will start because it's been minus 30. The whole day.
Not in Manitoba.
No, never. Yeah, it's super warm. Okay, now you also did mention, of course, that you do some crop planning and work with some of your customers. What right now is sort of top of mind in that planning process for your customers?
Definitely the plans start with the specialty crops and then on to canola. Probably cereals get a little further pushed back, and then lastly there'll be some of the feed crops, the forages, that type of thing will come on later on. But right now it's mostly soybeans, canola, peas, and some cereals getting booked up right now.
Mm-hmm. Poor cereals. They never, they're the tried and true, but nothing super exciting. We're always worried about
they're always the backbone of every farm operation.
They absolutely
are.
are.
They are the consistent variety. I mean, wheat is king around this part of the world, and it is there. It supports every farm. And, canola acre fluctuate, pea acre fluctuates, lentils, whatever, but your wheat is pretty consistent from year to year.
Mm-hmm. Now, you did mention peas. This week, of course, we were talking to Bill Gruel with Protein Industries Canada. Manitoba used to grow a lot of peas, then kind of not as many. Now maybe there's more push with the processing. What are you seeing on the pea side? Is there more interest in growing more peas?
In the last few years, we've seen pea acres quadruple in this area.
Oh, wow.
They were almost extinct at one point, and the varieties have improved. The opportunities to market them have improved, and so yes, the pea acres have made a nice comeback. It's a nice thing to see in return. Now the biggest challenge is to keep rotations long enough so that we don't end up with a disease problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think we'll ever see flax come back to Manitoba?
Really, flax is a very difficult crop to grow. People think of it as an easy crop to grow, but with modern weed control and every other crop, flax has been left behind there, and it has become very difficult to grow, keep a clean field, achieve the yield targets you want to achieve. The minute you increase nutrients, you create a weed problem. It goes on, and then the problem with there's no one currently buying flax straw or flax residue anymore in Manitoba. So the processing from that's gone, so now you have disposal of too much straw to deal with. So it's really been hammered on every side. I think there is a lot of opportunity in flax, but we need to kind of reinvent the wheel, start the industry over again.
I think you're exactly right. But it is pretty. But that's just not enough. That's not enough.
It has become so rare in the prairies that when you see a field, you almost want to stop because it draws your attention to it. Boy, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't know many that grow.
I have a vision for flax, and I think it really comes down to a herbicide-resistant variety.
Yeah,
would really ramp up the interest in growing it.
Yeah,
and I think if we did that, we would have the industry build the processing, the flax straw processors, etc., come back online.
I don't, for anyone listening,
because it's simple.
Yeah, for anyone listening, if they haven't ever grown flax or don't know what it's like, so this is where linen comes from, everybody. So imagine, we're not just talking about straw, Randy. This is very difficult stuff. And I know some varieties are better than they used to be, but it's a challenge to deal with the straw.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But there are processors that really value that straw.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, but they need a consistent supply. They need a very clean supply. Contaminated weeds cause them trouble, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in reality, I guess synthetics have replaced a lot of that linen, but there's still a certain demand for it. It's used in a lot of different industries. It's excellent material for even mixed with resins for plastics, etc. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's a very good fiber. So,
now, I'm going to make you pick favorites on the cereal side. So you said you've got 20 different types of crop that's going to go through between all the varieties and all those sorts of things. Which cereal is your favorite? You have to pick one.
Boy, you have to choose a question that I just get stumped on right away, Lindsay. Thank you. Probably one of my favorite cereals is still oats.
Interesting.
It is a crop that goes up and down the acres, almost not as bad as flax, but very close. People are in it and out of it, but I think it has a huge potential on the world market. I think we need to keep pushing oats and developing it. We could become the oat basket of the world.
All right. You heard it here first. Look at that. You've got plans for everything, Randy. You need to share your plans, share your visions. And here we go.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah, you're very welcome. No, I appreciate that. I also like oats. I probably like flax a bit better, but that's because I don't grow it. So there you go. All right, Randy, thanks so much. Have a great week.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. Time for one last break, and then we'll be back with our last segment of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We're going to head to Alberta and hear from Chris Allen right after this.
Canola is more than just a pretty face in the prairie landscape. It's a big business, both here and around the world, that requires you to be informed and up to date on everything it takes to grow a successful crop. The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com has an expert library of video resources covering markets, agronomy, and more to help you grow a healthy and profitable canola crop. Visit canolaschool.com today. Brought to you by BASF Canada and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
What's next for your fields? At Pioneer, delivering industry-leading genetics drives everything we do. From the scientists in the lab to our local teams with boots on the ground, we are determined to get there first. Developing top-performing products, proven in more growing conditions than ever before. Pioneer. What's next happens here. Visit pioneer.com/Canada to learn more.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147. It is Thursday, November 16th. I am your host, Lindsay Smith, and because it's Thursday, it's time for our final segment of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. All right, heading now to Alberta. We've got Chris Allen on the line. He's from near Edmonton, Alberta. How are you, Chris?
Doing pretty good.
All right. What's keeping you busy?
Finishing up getting some fertilizer blends figured out, trying to order chemicals, finishing up rent checks, all kinds of fun.
Oh, okay, but that sounds productive. Don't you think? Or were you working hard on this list before I called? It's like, what am I doing this week? Something like that. Let's start on the fert blends then. So, any big changes year over year, or what's the biggest question mark for next year?
Not a lot of question marks other than just trying to make a plan. We did a kind of intensive fertilizer meeting, and we're going to change quite a bit of stuff going into next year. So we're going to be doing lots of trials and, trying to get our best bang for our buck here. I think margins are going to get squeezed here. 24 doesn't not look as good as 23, and definitely not as good as 22. And I think we're going back to historic net revenues. Either costs are coming up or gross revenue is going to drop here. So I think we need to really work at getting a way to get keep net revenue strong and make sure we can make all our payments.
That's kind of important. Sometimes maybe doesn't get mentioned nearly as much as it should. Is the bank doesn't take hugs for payment. You must have the dollars.
Neither do employees. So
yeah, it's true. Okay, now on the chemical side, are you one that has been managing the supply chain issues of the last few years? Has that made you change how early you decide on things and order things?
Now we're doing pretty good. So we're looking at, they got the Cyber November for FBN, and so we're looking intensely into that and getting prices from our retails. We'll pull the trigger probably on some Roundup and glufosinate pretty quickly here, and we typically really make sure we get our seed treatments and all that stuff really lined up early, and then the in-crop stuff we lay a little bit later on sometimes.
Yeah, and has that? Do you get the sense that we're in decent shape, better shape than maybe this time last year as far as some of these value chains go?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think we could get Roundup right now, so I think we're gonna be pretty good that way. It's just you just want to make sure you get the best price you can.
Absolutely. Now, how does this? So I mean, you got a decent list here of stuff that you're working on. Do you have sort of a deadline that you give yourself on getting some of these things figured out as far as the planning process and committing to things?
Well, we bought the fertilizer here earlier this year. We're just finishing up our soil samples, figuring out blends, and making sure our plan is solid, getting the fertilizer in the right place. And then we like to pre-buy usually the Roundup we pre-buy before the new year, and we may do a little bit more this year. There's a little bit of a tax planning that's going on too, and I mean the same thing on kind of machinery front. We make sure we get that all squared away before the new year. Make sure we got things are going to show up when we need them, kind of stuff.
Rather important. Have any on the fertilizer side? Have you started working any micronutrients or any specialty products like that, or is it really just focusing on the key, the big three, the big four?
Keep it on the big four, but we also we dabble. We watch our soil tests pretty closely. We benchmark soil sample, and we did more soil samples this year than we ever have before. And so just trying to, we'll play with some, but it won't be. We haven't done a broad application of copper or boron in a long time, but we have done in the past and seen results or responses in the soil samples. So kind of gauge on what we've removed and make sure we keep that piggy bank topped up.
How do you decide on trials for the year ahead? Do you take notes like all season and I want to ask this question, or how do you decide that?
Lots of recommendations. I've got a pretty good network. So we deal with a company called Uncommon Farms of the U.S., and so there's some stuff that comes out of there. There's a good old Twitter has some neat things to try, or you watch somebody talk about something, then you message them and hey, what are you doing? And sometimes you get some ideas from there. So it's mostly from our peer group network that we get our recommendations. It's not so much from the academia or the fertilizer dealers at this point right now.
And are you very replicated trials and weigh wagon and very precise, or is it you split a field in 4 or something like that? How in depth do you get?
We're mostly grain cart weigh it. Lots of trials, and sometimes we kick ourselves. I mean, we do it with canola varieties every year. With our wheat, we usually do larger trials for wheat varieties. And then fertilizer, there's going to be some flags out in the field. my brother's going to be mad driving grain cart next fall, but there'll be some. Yeah, I mean, you can't possibly replicate enough to get. I mean, there's so many variables, but try and do the best you can and get a feel for it, and it takes years to get to perfect the craft, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I also think about sometimes, I mean, and I'm not the first person to say it, of course, but if you think about your career, you only have so many seasons, right? To try and to get better every year. So if you're not at least trying or trying to measure or trying to shift something around, then how do you get better if you're not, at least trying to measure some of the differences, for sure.
Yeah, you can look at the history of some of these fields, and maybe they've only had, canola on them 10 or 15 times ever.
Right.
Like it's I mean, people talk about like tight rotation. It's like, yeah, well, maybe, but it's been a long time since, it may be in a short period it's been intensively cropped, but like long term, you go back and look at some of these fields and some of this land, and it hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't have a whole lot of data back, more than 50 years on some of this stuff. So, a 3 or 4 year rotation gets you pretty spread out.
Yep, absolutely. Now, are you in an area where clubroot is your number one concern in canola, or is it not necessarily number one, but it's up there?
It's a concern. It's something that we're watching, but I mean, we've got hemp and faba beans that we're growing now that seem to help with that. We haven't noticed where that it's been a significant yield reducer. We have found it in fields.
Mm-hmm.
It was when it first came out, man, it was like the end of the world was coming. And after dealing with it since like 2006, 2007, it's kind of become not a non-issue, but doesn't keep you up at night, that's for sure.
That's good to hear. Let's hope that happens with some of our other issues. Could we do that? If you could work that in.
And the fate of the world. Politics.
That's right.
The fate of the world.
Yeah, thank you. If you could just solve something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good point, though, but clubroot is also one of those ones that we have seen, at least in what I would consider a short amount of time. We did get some variety help there, some resistance pretty quickly. We've got, of course, some other issues that, that still takes time to try and see what's already in the germplasm or maybe what we need to introduce. So, but it is good to hear at least that it, you're right. It was probably very, doom and gloom for a little while there. And it seems to be that farmers have figured out management overall.
Yeah, the varieties have helped and liming of soil. And I mean, there's all kinds of, and tillage, I think, was a bigger factor than everybody realized, because the fields you till on, you break those spores and you spread them.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bunch of little factors in there that add up to the bigger picture for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Alrighty. Well, that just about does it here for me. I do appreciate it, Chris, taking the time out of your day. I shall let you get back to your to-do list. It's a pretty good one. So good job. Yeah. All right. Okay. Take care. And with that, we wrap up today's show here on Rural Radio Channel 147. The Farmer Rapfire is brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. Big hats off to them. Well, it has been a big week. We're almost there. Tomorrow's Friday. Join me for the issues panel. I'm still going to be in the host seat. We are going to have, as promised, a spot from Agritechnica. This one's really fun, y'all. You're going to want to stick around for that one. And I've got Jeff Nielsen and Calvin Hepner going to join me for the issues panel. We'll see. Will Sean Haney make an appearance? Hard to say. They are traveling, so we'll see. I guess it all depends on the planes, trains, and the automobiles. All right, if you've got feedback on today's show, as always, 1-855-776-6147. Zip me an email, lsmith@realagriculture.com. And, of course, you can find us across social media at RealAgriculture. You can drop us a DM. You can drop a comment. Whatever the case may be, let us know what you think. We've definitely got a full slate of issues to get through tomorrow. Lots of feedback on Bill C-234. There's plenty of rumblings going on the political side we'll talk about. And, of course, there were some announcements this week with some funding and a bit of controversy around that, too. So we'll see where it all ends up. All right. Everyone, have a wonderful Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow, 4:30 Eastern, right here on RealAg Radio.